As always, it's straight to all the market action from today, where the market saw a gap-up opening but failed to sustain that position to end flat with a positive bias. The Nifty managed to touch the 10,900 mark intraday but failed to hold on to that mark. The mid-caps outperformed, with the index gaining more than 100 points in the trading day, but the Bank Nifty sulked to end with cuts of over a quarter percentage points. Now, crude prices continue to remain on a slippery slope. Brent crude is down 0.5% at $59 a barrel, and WTI NYMEX is 1% lower at the $50 mark. Now, prices did firm up a tad bit on expectations that OPEC will cut output when it meets next week. But an increase in supplies from the US has also helped keep prices low. The rupee, meanwhile, continues to strengthen. The Indian currency has gained 21 paise versus the dollar in early trade today to hit 69.63, coming below that $70 mark, and falling crude prices and dovish commentary from the US Federal Reserve Chairman have boosted the rupee over the last two trading sessions. Now, here's a stock that has been battered in trade since Rana Kapoor was asked to step down as the MD and CEO of Yes Bank next year by the Reserve Bank of India. And since then, the bank has also faced allegations of lax corporate governance. Now, in a bid to clear the air, the group president of Yes Bank, Rajat Monga, spoke to CNBC TV18 earlier today, and he denied the charges against the promoter entities and went on to clarify that Rana Kapoor is not eyeing the post of chairman, and also assured that Kapoor is not under any pressure to reduce his stake in Yes Bank.
There should not be any pressure on him to sell down his stake. In fact, we believe him when he says that he will stay put on his holding. Why should there be pressure? I'm not sure if I'm understanding the question well, but it is. He also will know that these are times where there is deep value in the valuation, and the share has corrected quite a bit. There is deep value. In fact, these are opportunities for us to sustain through these times, focus on the bank's fundamentals, which, as I was mentioning, continue to be strong. And I think this change that we are going through is only a matter of weeks. There are lineups of board meetings, there are lineups of outcomes which should be able to also set the back to a path which it was always following.
Okay. Well, just a detail on, since you spoke about Rana Kapoor, there was talk that in that peace accord with the family, he spoke about his being chairman. Is that possible at all under the rules? If not CEO, he can be? I
think that has been misread or misunderstood in terms of how there is a context in the bank's articles. If you go back 15 years ago, it might be now a little bit out of context. And if you remember, late Mr. Ashok Kapoor was the bank's non-executive chairperson when the bank started. The articles therefore provided for those positions at that point in time. However, the current regulatory framework is very different. So as this few years have gone by, and you will notice with most private sector banks that the only person who can be a bank's chairperson is someone who is independent, and naturally someone who is of eminence. So it is something which is, in my opinion, being read out of context, because it might be of a structure of the past, but the current context of the structure is very different.
Well, the Oil Ministry has sought an additional grant of 45,000 crore rupees from the North Bloc to fund its kerosene and LPG subsidy for the current financial year. Now, the Finance Ministry feels, however, that there is a discrepancy as far as the Oil Ministry's subsidy calculation is concerned. Sapna Das, who broke that story, joins in with more details. Sapna, what is this divergence that the government has noted? What are you picking up?
We're given to understand that an overall additional estimate of around 45,000 crores has already come in from Oil Ministry in terms of additional subsidy payments for LPG and kerosene. If you look at the breakup, the numbers roughly look at 38,000 crores of additional subsidy demand for LPG and around 7,000 crores for kerosene for FY19. Now, having said this, Finance Ministry's view at the moment is that probably there could be some discrepancy in the way the additional estimates on subsidy front have been been calculated, and these numbers need a relook, and they will have to be reworked, and probably that's what is going on at the moment. We are also given to understand that this overall amount, this additionality, should be lower by around 8 to 10,000 odd crores, at least in the current financial year. Now, clearly, some funds for LPG subsidy will definitely be released. Additional funds will be released over the budget in FY19. Probably that you can expect sometime the winter session of the Parliament. The remaining unpaid subsidies will be rolled over to the next financial year as per the convention is. Apart from this, there is also an existing amount in the budget around 5,000 odd crores to 55 odd 100 crores. Probably that may also help in trying to balance out the number. Net, the message is that these amounts are too much on the higher side. They need to be reworked, and some bit of payment will come through probably in the next month or two as far as the LPG and kerosene subsidies are concerned, but not the entire amount.
All right, Sapna, thank you very much for joining in with that. Now, it's 2 days after the Competition Commission of India, or CCI, gave a clean sheet to LIC's takeover of IDBI Bank, and CNBC TV18 learns that LIC is looking to complete this acquisition by December itself. The insurance giant is also looking to infuse about 15 to 20,000 crore rupees into the bank very soon. LIC source further added that the open offer size for IDBI Bank's acquisition could be kept at about 5%. Remember, there's a PIL in the Delhi High Court opposing this deal. However, speaking on this matter, sources in the know told CNBC TV18 that any further transactions will depend on the verdict, which is currently reserved by the court. Now, staying with more action from the upcoming budget then, the Nitin Gadkari-headed Road Ministry and Highway Ministry has come out with its budget wish list with around 2 months to go. Now, we learn from sources that the ministry has sought about 1,20,000 crore rupees from the Finance Ministry for the next fiscal. The National Highways Authority of India, or NHAI, meanwhile, has sought about 30,000 crores. Let's go across to our correspondent Anu Sharma, who has been tracking that story. Anu, take us through what the ministry's demands are from this upcoming budget.
So sources have told us that the Road Transport and Highways Ministry is likely to have asked for over 1,20,000 crore rupees in the budgetary allocation for the next financial year starting April 1. While the ministry has asked for over 1,20,000 crore, it is expecting to get at least 83,000 crore rupees in the budgetary allocation. With respect to the second supplementary demand for grants, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways is expecting an increase of around 7,600 crore rupees. Sources tell us that this will take the revised estimate for 2018-19 to over 78,000 crore rupees. Coming to National Highways Authority of India, NHAI is likely to get around 25,000 to 30,000 crore rupees in the budgetary allocation for the next financial year. Sources tell us that NHAI will look at raising somewhere around 75,000 crore rupees in the next financial year. The target seems ambitious given that the fund requirements for NHAI will be higher than the current year, as a lot of projects will be in the stage of maturity. It remains to be seen whether it is able to touch this target of 75,000 crore rupees. That will of course depend on the actual amount it gets allocated in the budget for the next financial year. Remember, the borrowing limit for NHAI for the current financial year was 62,000 crore rupees. Back to you.
Anu, thank you very much for bringing us that report. But on that comes as a huge relief for Anil Ambani's Reliance Communications. The Supreme Court today gave its go-ahead to their proposed spectrum trading deal with Reliance Jio Infocom. Now, there's a condition, however. Reliance Communications would have to submit 1,400 crore rupees as corporate guarantee to the telecom department. That too over the course of the next 2 days. The Apex Court, however, directed the telecom department to issue a no objection certificate to Reliance Communications within a week of receiving the corporate guarantee. The corporate guarantee will be issued by Reliance Realty, which is a subsidiary of Reliance Communications. And a standard disclaimer on your screen then, which is the promoter of Reliance Jio, that is RIL, is also the company that controls Network 18 and the channel that you're watching. Now, here's the latest in the IL&FS case, and things are getting heated up there. The Serious Fraud Investigation Office, or the SFIO, which is probing the IL&FS saga, has questioned the former chairman Ravi Paltasarthi and other key executives of the company. The suspicion is that former executives siphoned off money from the company for their own personal gains. Let's go across to our correspondent Utkarsh Chaturvedi, who has been tracking that story and joins in now. Utkarsh, these are some serious charges that have been levelled.
Exactly, as you said, Ritu, Ravi Parthasarathy was questioned by SFIO, but what we are picking up from our top sources in the Serious Fraud Investigation Office is that it was an initial statement which was taken from Ravi Parthasarathy, and there will be many more rounds of questioning which will follow. Same with the executive directors, with the key directors, that their initial statements have been recorded of what they feel happened in the company, but after the whole process of investigation will go further, there will be more rounds of questioning for them. Now, what the SFIO suspects at this point of time is that Ravi Parthasarathy, along with other directors, have also used the money which was siphoned off allegedly to build their own properties, and that is why the scanner now is on the properties and investments of especially Ravi Parthasarathy and other key directors as well. Now, the other question for the key directors, if they have not really taken the share of money which was siphoned off, is that whether they were aware of the wrongdoings in the company as well. Also, speaking about the modus operandi of how the money was siphoned off, what SFIO at this point of time is looking at is the tenders which were given by IL&FS. Now, remember that we are talking about a company with around 200 subsidiaries and a lot of projects which we're working on and a lot of tenders which were given at that point of time. And SFIO, being a skeletal team at this point of time working on this case, will have to really wait for some more time for more clarity to come on this. But surely, as you said, the radar now is on the directors and the money which they have used for siphoning off.
All right, Utkarsh, thank you very much, and we'll keep a close track on that story. But on that note, development from New Delhi, the second day of the Kisan Mukti Morcha saw thousands of farmers take to the streets of New Delhi. The farmers had camped at Ram Leela ground overnight after congregating from various parts of the country. Today, nearly 35,000 marching farmers were stopped near the Parliament Street, the police station, on their way to the Parliament. Among other demands, the farmers want the government to convene a special session of the Parliament to discuss the agricultural distress, and parties such as the Congress, Aam Aadmi Party and the Nationalist Congress Party and Janata Dal Secular have already backed the farmers. My colleague Parikshit Luthra brings us this report.
Behind me are thousands of farmers. Many of them reached Ram Leela Maidan yesterday. Today they've marched towards Parliament Street to send a strong message to the government and the Indian Parliament. This entire street, this would be an 800-meter stretch. It's full of farmers. You can see it's completely chock-a-block. There are farmers from different parts of the country. Almost all states are represented here. You can see farmers from Tamil Nadu as well. They have been protesting, and they paraded naked in the area as well to express their anger. All of them demanding a one-time loan waiver. They say this is a demand that must be heard by Indian Parliament and politicians and government officials in the country. They have three key demands. Number one, a special session of Parliament should be heard for farmers in the country. And number two, two key legislations, one on debt relief and one for a high and adequate minimum support price must be passed in this session of Parliament. They're saying if these demands are not met, they will intensify the agitation against the government, and they will also teach a lesson to the government in the next general election. With Video Journalist Narendra, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Well, thank you for bringing us that report, Parikshit. Let's also listen into what Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal had to say about this march.
12.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए जिसे नरेंद्र मोदी जी, अरुण जेटली जी नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट कहते हैं, उनका आने वाले समय में वो कर्जा माफ करना चाहते हैं। हम यहां सिर्फ न्याय की बात कर रहे हैं। अगर 15 लोगों का 3.5 लाख करोड़ रुपए कर्जा माफ किया जा सकता है, तो हिंदुस्तान के करोड़ों किसानों का कर्जा माफ किया जाएगा।
मोदी जी के शासन के लिए बेहद शर्म की बात है कि आज किसान पूरे देश में आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं और उनको अपनी मांगे मनवाने के लिए दिल्ली चल के आना पड़ा। जितनी चिंता प्रधानमंत्री जी अंबानी और अडानी की करते हैं, उससे 10% चिंता अगर किसानों की कर लें तो किसानों की सारी समस्याओं का हल हो जाएगा, और नहीं तो फिर अगली चुनाव में मोदी जी को अंबानी और अडानी से ही वोट मांगने पड़ेंगे।
Well, now one of India's senior-most Supreme Court judges, Justice Joseph Kurian, has retired. And his last day in office also happened to be his birthday, and he celebrated by cutting a cake ahead of the press conference. Now, Justice Joseph was one of the 4 judges who held a press conference earlier this year against the then Chief Justice Deepak Mishra over alleged bench fixing. Now, when asked about that incident, Justice Joseph said that he has no regrets about going public, as that was the only option available at the time. Kurian also said that there were some unhealthy practices and the roster of cases was merely one of the issues. Justice Joseph also added that he faced no political pressures during his tenure, but he said that matters of judicial appointments, delay and withholding on certain names by the government does amount to political interference.
I never regretted, because whatever I did it very consciously for a cause, and for a cause for which there was no other way left. That was the stage at which we did it. It was an institutional crisis. So it takes a long time for the systems and the practices to change. Hopefully to change, because the one who was part of the great clamor for the change is also the captain over there. So things should change. It's not a question of roster. It was a question of some unhealthy practices or systems that was being followed in the Supreme Court in the matter of its business, actually. So it was against that. Its roster was maybe only one of the issues. There were many other issues also along with that. The way the appointments have been delayed, the appointments have been selectively delayed, the appointments have been withheld. All these are in a way an interference. You remember Justice Loda said it. It is an attack to the heart of independence. Reason is even some of the look at the cases. Some of the cases which have been selected by the collegium and sent for consideration by the government. And if a person who is likely to go up in the normal course, in accordance with the seniority which has been decided by the High Court, which recommended, and even the Supreme Court having done the same thing, and if that is sought to be interfered with, that is in a way an interference to the administration of justice. So,
well, here's some news breaking on your screens just now, and that is Amul has pipped Mother Dairy to win the Delhi Milk Scheme bid. Now, we learned from sources that Amul will pay about 3,400 crore rupees as rent to the central government to use these assets. The Delhi Milk Scheme, remember, is a retail unit that was started by India's first president, Rajendra Prasad. This deal will help increase Amul's market share in Delhi NCR by about 10%. Priya Sheth joins in with exclusive details on this story. Priya, take us through what this deal is and what it means for Amul.
Well, absolutely. Amul has pipped Mother Dairy to win the Delhi Milk Scheme bid, and this essentially will mean that Amul will utilize Delhi Milk Scheme assets to run, to sell milk, in fact, in Delhi. In fact, do remember that according to the bid documents that we've assessed, Amul will be paying a lease of about 42.3 crore rupees on an annual basis in FY 19-20, and this amount will increase by about 6 to 7% on an annual basis. So this makes it a total of about 3,400 crore rupees that Amul will be paying the central government over the next 30 years. Do remember that this is on a renewable basis. Now, this deal will also help Amul increase its market share in the Delhi NCR region. Do remember that Amul has a market share of about 42 to 43% in this region. So Amul will be having a market share of 53% post this takeover. Revenues also would increase by about 1,000 crore rupees on an annual basis. And in fact, Amul will also get access to 550 milk booths that DMS has in Delhi NCR region. So all in all, it seems like a big positive, also positive for the government, because do remember that DMS has been struggling with losses of about 900 crore rupees in the last financial year. So some revenue for the government coming in as a part of this deal. In fact, we did reach out to the company and Amul did not respond to CNBC TV18 query.
Well, Priya, thank you very much for bringing us those exclusive details. But with that,